Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. You're listening to Heart Conversations with Women of NOOR, a women empowerment group for women from all over the world. NOOR means light of God, light of the universe, and we believe every woman, every human being possesses this light of courage and hope. We believe you tuning in to this podcast. You matter. You are extraordinary. This show is for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary women doing extraordinary things. And we believe we are all ordinary. I'm Saima Dhillon, a realtor by choice, a humanitarian at heart. My podcast is my sounding board. I'm a warrior, a non-conformist, an ordinary person hoping to do extraordinary things. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Without waiting anymore, let's dive right in. Just going to give a brief introduction about Nazia Hossain, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist associate in the state of Texas. She's been serving individuals, families, couples, and children in a therapeutic capacity. Dr. Hossain graduated from the University of Texas at Dallas, summa cum laude, with a bachelor's degree in psychology, as well as a minor in business administration. And she recently did get her PhD as well. And you know what? I'm going to go back in there, and in just a bit, we are going to let Nazia herself give an introduction for herself. But before we go to you, Nazia, I'm going to let Kalpana do an introduction of herself.
Hi, ladies, beautiful ladies out there. Yes, I'm Kalpana, and I'm extremely honored to be part of this podcast with Saima. And it's so amazing that how every week I get to hear new stories and how inspiring they are that these wonderful women, like we say, the ordinary women doing extraordinary thing. And it's really inspiring to see that how they have evolved and how they believe that everybody go through highs and lows, but how they have transformed their life by doing some constructive things instead of just not just digging into the past. That's a good thing about it. And here I am, a Montessori teacher, a proud Montessori teacher, I would say, and how things were when I started. How people used to say, why are you just choosing this career? You can do so much better." But it took me also time to just evolve from there to there, and how I love working with the children, and how inspiring it is that when they teach us so many things to me. Their cuteness, their smile every day, I just love to be with them all the time. And here I am also doing this podcast with Saima, and we have a radio show as well, where we actually call Heart to Heart, where we also talk about different aspects of life and how to deal with them. So there are a lot of things I'm learning, and still the journey is going on. So I would always say that I'm always learning and getting new things. And here is a new guest, Nazia, here on the show. I welcome you and introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Saima, for having me on in Kalpana. So a little bit about myself. Tell me if I'm too detailed. Um, I was here, born in New York City. My parents moved me to Plano, Texas when I was 3 months old because they said it's the best schooling in the country. I agree with them. And so I went to Plano ISD my whole life. Then, as Saima said, I did my undergrad at UTD in psychology. Right afterwards, I got married. I was like, I want to get married. I don't want to go to school. Got married to a guy, moved to DC. Lived there for 5-6 years, worked in nonprofit, came back to Dallas, and I was like, I want to help people. So I studied for the LSAT. I was applying to law school at SMU, and then I was like, wait a second, I don't want to lie. I felt like lawyers are great, but they have to lie sometimes. I was like, I can't do that. So I changed to counseling, but I didn't tell anyone in my family. I got into the SMU counseling program, and my dad and my husband were like, wait, what happened to law school? I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm healing people. So like, okay, fine, Beta, go do that. So I finished that, but it's funny because it's a 3-year program. I finished it in a year because I took like every class I could, and I had 2 little boys at the time. I had Yusuf, who was probably 4, and Yahya was 3 years old. I was the only mom in the classes, but I was persistent. I took every class I could take, and I finished. And I was working as a career counselor at SMU. I fell in love with it, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do counseling. Counseling at that time, I felt like it was too much. I was like, I'm too young for this. I can't, listen to other people's problems. It's affecting my family, my life as a mother. So I went in to do my doctorate in education. So I finished my doctorate in education. My dissertation, my thesis was on parent impact of college access for first generation students, because I was a first generation student myself. Um, and I did it, and I was teaching at Dallas College, the Richland College. I love teaching, but then COVID happened. And I was like, wait a second. And my mom, my sisters are like, hey, you're license eligible. There's so many ladies, men, family, kids, people who need your help right now. Anxiety, the pandemic. And I said, okay. So then I took my license exam, passed that, and then I went back to counseling. And so for the past year, I've been at Sanford Couples Counseling as a couples counselor. But my last day was Thursday. So this Friday, I opened my own private practice. And this Monday, since Monday, I've been working as a sole, therapist at Nas Counseling, PLC. It's called, my mom's kind of mad because my name's Nazia. And she's like, why did you shortcut it? Why are you Nas now? And I'm like, Mom, it's okay. Don't worry. We're in Texas. Everyone can say Nas. It's easy on the tongue, right? So that's what I do right now. I'm a licensed.
About yourself, right?
Yeah. So a little, I don't know if that was too much, but just
Not at all.
about what I do and who I am. And I actually met Saima 13, 14 years ago when her daughter was at my first job. My first job was a daycare lead, whatever. And I was 17 years old. And that's when I met Saima and her daughter. So.
Wow. Small world, right? And the best part, I think, one of the best things about the podcast is that the people who come, you get to know so much about them, and intimate relationships are created, and just in this short span of time, it's just a wonderful opportunity. It's just casual. Like I was telling you guys, there are times when the dog is barking, the kids are going crazy, and Kalpana has witnessed all of it. So but it's just casual.
Kids are still up, so they might come.
That's okay. If they come, you can do an introduction, and we are perfectly fine with that. So, so what made you go into couples counseling, Nazia?
Well, so I was born and brought up here, but my husband's from Bangladesh, like born there. And like, I noticed my cousins and stuff, like when I felt like because he's from the same country that I'm originally from, like we wouldn't have obstacles. But oh my gosh, like, and he was born in Bangladesh, but he came here when he was 10 years old. And he was raised in New York. So I thought, okay, he's more like me. He went to school here, but oh my gosh, like, and that's what I've learned. Like for all my friends, the first year, yeah, there's honeymoon phase, and then it becomes like a roller coaster. And it's all about communication and understanding and hearing each other. And I feel like as a therapist, I'm first my therapist, and then my friends, and then like, when you go to dawats and outings, everyone's always like, can I ask you something? You're a couples counselor. Like, can you talk to my husband? I was actually talking to my kids' school this week for career day, and the students were like, Dr. Hussein, can you talk to my mom? Can you talk to our parents? And I was like, okay, I'll share my business card. But just being able, I feel like after every session, like just being heard and having that non-judgmental space, like you're saying, Saima, like therapy's for everyone. It's not just for white people. It's not just for the wealthy. It's for everyone. I mean,
free individual.
Yeah, individuals, children. I do play therapy as well with children, and children during this crisis, they can't talk about their feelings. They'll say, I want to play, right? And then do their play, they talk. So I do couples counseling, but I do work with children, and I feel like everyone needs a space to communicate and talk about what they're going through.
And that's the biggest point, because in these days, I think the communication matters a lot. Not only just communicating, but also how you communicate matters a lot, because that's where the problem arises in any relationship, no matter what. Because everybody's busy these days. The wife and husband working, everybody wants to go out and make bread for the living. But with that, I see in my own school how many stories that I hear every day. The couple separating, and the kids are dropped by 1 week by mom and 1 week by dad, and they don't communicate with each other. So a lot goes on at school, and I see that how it affects the children, because we see them every day, and it really matters a lot. And what you're doing is kudos to you. It's very good thing.
See, I feel it's okay for couples to separate if they feel that they are not in sync. because
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
If you have children, then I feel it's a
There has to be mutual agreement.
responsibility on
Point.
both the parents' part to be as friendly as they possibly can, to share
It's
as much,
amicable. Yeah, make it
and,
amicable. Yeah.
right? Because of the kids' mental health.
Yeah, I have a couple I'm seeing, and they've been together for like 15 years. They're actually, they're the first boyfriend and girlfriend. They didn't know anyone else in their lives, right? So 15 years ago, they got together. They have a boy and a girl together, and they finally realized that, they have different goals in life, right? And so they started coming in and they said, hey, at the end of, we're going to see you for 12 sessions, and then don't tell us we have to stay married. And I was like, oh, of course not. This is your space to communicate, have those safe conversations, right? And through talking after 10 sessions, they're like, wait, we're totally different people. Yeah, we love each other. We love our kids, but we have different goals in life, right?
I mean, I'm not the person I was when I was, forget
Right.
15, 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Forget that. I'm not even the person that I was maybe 2 years ago.
Right?
I'm continuously changing and evolving. And as human beings, that's what we are supposed to do. We are
That's,
supposed
yeah,
to evolve.
that's a good thing, to keep rolling the ball and change yourself and adopt with the environment that is around you, the situations that comes around you. That's very important.
Otherwise, we become stagnant, right?
Yeah. So
Right.
real quick about that couple though, they are separated now and they're going through divorce, but their kids are so happy. And so I do play therapy with the kids, and they said, but Dr. Hussein, now when we have mommy 100%. And we have daddy 100%. And on Thursdays, we have both mom and dad, and we go for family dinner, right? And just seeing how happy the kids were, that the parents were, happy. They're like, our parents, they don't argue anymore. They don't fight anymore. Yeah, we see each other. We're not with them all the time, but we have the whole self of our parents, right? And that to me was very deep, coming from my 8-year-old.
So they are doing this Thursday family night even after the divorce.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think there's nothing wrong with that, right?
It's healthy. Yeah.
I mean, again, I go into personal stuff maybe too much, but
But sometimes I think that there's like the personal skeleton will shut off as somewhere or the other, and that's okay too.
I think so, because that's what we are here for, right? To help change lives, and that's how we are able to change lives, is by sharing our own stories. And I know that, because I publicly announced that I went through a divorce recently, and I was telling my ex-husband now that Thursday evenings maybe we all go out for a walk near the neighborhood, and maybe you come and you join us.
Sure.
I was like, that's not appropriate. I was like, you're not doing it for me.
For your daughters, right?
You're doing it for your daughters. It's time you can spend together. You're all walking. It's just something stimulating, and hopefully it releases some
happy moments. Yeah.
See, what happens is, Simon, a lot of times after divorce or after separation, I think a lot of people still have that kind of boundaries. They just want to maintain that. But in very rare cases, I think like Nazia was saying, I think they have this amicable relation. They still want to make it, and probably it evolves more healthy way than it was before when they were together. Very rare families just come back and then meet up together.
That's true.
Because I see every day it should be that way, but the problem is whatever it should be, it doesn't happen that way, right? It's only within this. So that's
why that is one of the reasons that I am repeatedly emphasizing it, because that's what we are here for, right? To plead with parents to do this in the most amiable way, because you think that it's not going to impact your children, but it devastates your children.
Any age, whether they're children or adults.
So it's not the separation which devastates the children, it's the fighting and the ugliness and the exchange of ugly words. And we had Farzana here last time, and Farzana was talking about abuse, and not just men who are abusive, but even women who are abusive. Yeah. So I think taking all this into perspective, it's just important to seek counseling, to seek help, to do this in the most gentle way possible, as difficult as it is, but it's your kids who are going to end up suffering when they're ugly, when there's ugliness.
Yeah,
And
and
tell me,
including them in
Nazia,
the
when you do
conversation.
the counseling, have you ever seen any time that during the time of therapy that you do, have you ever seen that any conflicts happening during the session? Because
Oh
sometimes they,
yeah,
right?
yes.
So it's,
Oh
yeah,
yes.
they
I
don't
have to like
agree to the
sometimes.
point.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, do not talk unless you're holding the Kleenex box. Like it gets rowdy because like they bring in, it's a safe space, so it's time for them to bring in what's worrying them and why they don't want to be together, or the pain or the trauma or things that happened a long time ago that they never were able to talk about before, right? So it gets intense, but that's what therapy is for, that giving clients that safe space to talk about it. And then sometimes it's like, okay, I can't do this in front of my partner. Like the husband will be like, I want to talk to you, but I'm not ready. So I'll literally have the husband come in first, and then we'll do empty chair technique, which is the Gestalt method. And basically, I have an empty chair, and we act like the wife is sitting down, and he talks to her like she's in the room for like 50 minutes.
Hmm.
And it's so deep, but like it prepares them for that conversation with their wife, right? And it's vice versa, you know. But yeah, it's not always a happy story. Sometimes it is very hard. And then sometimes we need outside resources to come in and help. But like y'all are saying, like just having the right resources and being able to talk about it and being open, because the more you tell therapists, the more we can help you, right?
I
So if you
think
keep,
somewhere in there the priorities get messed up, right?
yeah,
People lose focus of what's important and what's not important. And people forget about, they think that their children are the most important thing in the world, but actually money becomes the most important
yeah,
thing. And you are fighting over what can be hidden, what has to be shared, what has to be split.
yeah,
Everyone forgets that
kids,
your children are going to end up getting messed up. So be gentle, share whatever there is. I mean, this is our belief, right? If it's
yeah,
meant to, if you're meant to have it, it's going to come back.
it's gonna, yeah,
See, but I believe that people fight for two reasons. In my opinion, is one, they fight for have the control. The two, I think they fight to get the love. But in either the case, if again the part comes the communication, if they don't communicate properly, I think whatever the goal is, whether love or control, nothing's going to be reached if you don't say it in a proper way. And that's where, see, there are a lot of stories in every family, whether it's a South Asian community or around the globe. There are a lot of family stories in every family. Some they work out between the two people, men and women. Some don't, they seek the counseling, they go for counseling. But still, even today, I think people hesitate. They are still in the cocoon to just share the stories to others. They said, what if the other person is going to say, like, you're the counselor? So there might be families who think that, what if they're the third person going to know what's happening between us? But I think that's not true. You should, if that is really bothering you and it's hammering you down there, I think it's always good to seek help and talk about it. Just go to a friend who you think is trustworthy to share your story, or reach to the therapist like you. It's always good to share the stories and
yeah.
talk about it.
The difference between talking to a friend and a therapist is, a friend, yeah, like, the friend knows you and your family, but therapist, like, I have nothing to gain from your marriage or your divorce, right? So
Absolutely.
and if I see you at my mosque, if I see you at like a mela, if I see you somewhere, it's completely confidential. Like I can't even tell people that I'm seeing you. So if I'm doing individual counseling, then I cannot tell your husband that I'm seeing you, like
Right.
period. And it's not, I won't lie, I just can't, I say I can't disclose that, right?
It's
So
confidential. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So,
confidential. And
Nazia, what reason do you see primarily happening because of which you see couples? What's the number one reason people are fighting over?
communication, a lot of communication issues and infidelity. Now, okay, adults with TikTok and all the dating apps, and I mean these are married couples, and they're like, oh, but he's always,
Distractions.
yeah, he's always on his, feed, or she's always on this, or OnlyFans, or Instagram, like these things that are not supposed to destroy like couples, but married couples and non-married couples, but it's breaking people apart
Yeah, the
and not
distractions are
communicating.
many. I think the distractions are so many, especially the social media.
and everyone working online, a lot of couples working online. And actually during COVID, I had so many couples coming in and saying we're falling out of love. Like we used to like go to work and then come see each other, but now we wake up together, we go to sleep together, we see each other all day, and it's not working. It's not
Got
it's
fed
not
up
gonna
with
work.
them.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Well, so talking about what is it about your partner that's, disturbing, or how do you expect to be talked about? So when you're having an issue, are you a person that like just blows up and you have to talk right away, or are you a person that needs to, write it out, or are you a person that likes to take a 10-minute break and then come back, right? And then John Gottman has a thing called State of the Union. So I tell my clients, hey, write down throughout the week, write down your issues you're having. You can even email it to me, letters to your therapist, but then have one day in the week where you're both civilized and you're both well rested, and we bring those issues and then we talk about it like a State of the Union, like a meeting. And at that time you're not intense, you're not angry, and you're able to talk about it. So, and then talking about expectations, like saying, hey, this is what I expect of you as my partner, and this is what, to discuss stuff that should be discussed but sometimes goes unnoticed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Marriage is a long-term relationship, Nazia, and we all know that. And
Mhm.
it does require a mutual benefit. Unfortunately, we can't say it's unconditional. It's good if it's unconditional, as a book says, but in reality, I would say it's my personal thing that I'm saying. You need to serve the mutual benefit, and if that doesn't happen, the disconnection starts occurring. And if the
Right.
disconnection is like prolonging, there's a gap. I think then that's where I think all these D's come, the depression, the divorce, whatnot. I think that's what I think. So I
Mhm.
know, I understand communication is very crucial, but we also need to know how to communicate, because a lot of people say they do communicate, but they don't know how to communicate. Unfortunately, they either attack
Mhm.
or they play the blame game. Um, I have learned over the period of time, even I would say I'm still learning, of course, how to communicate, and I don't say I'm there yet, but I have learned to say my feelings only instead of saying that what the other person is doing. Just say
Yeah.
my feelings. If the other person gets it, it's good. I think I've well enough. But if they don't get it, I'm not going to do the blame game or just say you.
Sure.
It's just talk about yourself. That's all. What you're feeling. That's I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Validation is necessary, right?
And Kalpana, we call those I statements. So when you say, hey, you're not doing this right, or you do this wrong, it's shame and blame, right? But when you say, I feel like you're not doing it right, or I feel like I'm being mistreated, or I feel like you're constantly blaming me, like you're taking on yourself, but it just sounds so much softer, right?
Soft.
So in
Yeah.
therapy, we call those I statements.
I
And you're
state.
right. Yeah, validation is so important. So knowing that, hey, I'm feeling this way, and you understand that I'm feeling that way. You're validating that I have emotions too, and that they count.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well, just completely going in a completely different direction. Not that mental health and counseling is not a vast enough
Understood.
subject, right? But because you were born and raised here, Nazia, and what we are seeing in youngsters these days is kids who are born and raised, especially girls in the US, they do not want to get married to someone who is overseas, which is something you yourself also said that was, with your husband, you felt that, okay, he's raised, born here, so you were more receptible to that. But girls are not wanting to get married. What are you seeing in our Desi community, in our community, especially because parents are so rigid uh, in raising their kids. They do not want kids to date. They do not want kids to go out. They want, what they have experienced, right? Growing up 30 years ago,
Yeah.
uh,
It's a
for
different country.
right, in a completely different country culture. I feel that we as immigrants have come into this country with a choice, and that choice is that yes, it is a different culture, but our youth is going through such a difficult time, right? Because they're in a completely different environment, but parents' expectations from their children is completely different. They're not ready to accept, right?
Right. Yeah, so I have a client that I'm seeing, and she called me and she's like, I want to see you, but I'm not sure if my mom will like you. So she was also born and raised here, and she's Pakistani, and she's like, my parents, they're okay with coming to therapy, but they want someone who's, desi enough. And I was like, let me try. So I did. I met with her and her parents, and it's funny because her mom was like, I really like her, and then she was like, I like her too. And so I was able to, as a mother of 3 kids, I was able to relate to the mom, and she was like my mom, and I was able to relate to the daughter. But they were coming in because the girl, she's like 30 years old, right? And she's still living with her parents. So her parents have the whole upstairs. No, her parents have the whole downstairs, and she has the whole upstairs to herself, right? And so she's like, I'm not ready to get married. I don't want to get married. And they're throwing all these like desi guys at her, and she doesn't want to get married. But now she's come to therapy because she's like, I want my own place. And the parents are like, okay, so the dad buys her a house across the street from their house, like literally in front of their house. And she's like, okay, this is not freedom. Like, you can see when I'm coming home, you can see when I'm leaving. They're like, no, it's okay. Like, it's yours. They gave her the keys. And she's like, no, I need, some separation. They're like, no, if you don't move in front of our house, if you go somewhere else and no one's going to marry you, they're going to think that, you're out sleeping around, that you're drinking, you're smoking. And it's like all these things that she's like, I don't do any
Which
of
she
that.
could still
Yeah.
be doing. It's just that she's going to hide and do it
Yeah.
instead of doing it in a secure
Yeah.
place where she's safe.
Yeah. So then there's that. And then like I have other couples coming in for premarital counseling, and it's like one person, they're like different interfaith, right? Interfaith or different cultures, and the parents are just like, not unacceptable. Like we're not going to be at your marriage. I have so many, there's just so many stories of so many couples.
And then it doesn't work if you intimidate your own children. I think I
Yeah.
know where we come from, because it's a cultural czar. It's because the way the parents were grown up, so it's going to be hard for them as well. But just intimidating them and pressurizing them won't help. I think there has to be a
Yeah.
point where both come to a mutual agreement and mutual term, and that's where is the key to making healthy or going to unhealthy way. So
Yeah, so I like to highlight, I'm like, tell your parents about the good in your partner, right? All the good stuff that you got, the shared goals that you have, and things that you love about your partner. Because I'm like, I'm sorry, but your parents aren't marrying your partner. Yeah, when you marry, two families are marrying each other, but no, it's not completely like that. Like, I don't.
It's not supposed to be that way,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, there should
I
be
mean, it's
healthy boundaries,
difficult
right?
enough marrying someone, right? And then when it's the families that come in too, especially living in the US, that is
Hard.
very hard.
One time I had a training as a part of my teacher's training. We have to go to training every year. So there was a training. They have everybody have to put their situations, what they don't like in the society. They have to put a piece of paper and stick it on there, and we all have to go read it. So somebody said, I did not like my dad treated me when I was young. Somebody said something happened with me. They were all sharing the personal story, and nobody has to write their name. It's just a story. It just goes on the wall.
Yes.
And then at the end we have to share those stories up. They have to read aloud, and then they ask the how you can solve it in general. Everybody's generalizing it and giving their views, but at the end the interesting question was, put yourself in that situation. If that happens as with your daughter or with your son and you're a parent, how would you react? Because as a teachers, we do to our children in the classroom, we just give them nuggets of advice. We ask them do's and don'ts and everything. But when it comes to your own child, your perception changes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just twists 360 degrees, and you want to just be so much in control because this is my child.
Right.
And we were all, well, yeah, I mean, we can just give advices to everybody. When it comes to our own family, we kind of somewhere just draw the thin line. No, it can happen to my child. It can happen anywhere in the world, but not to my kid. But that's where the key is, that we need to also adapt, that our children can also do something which we may not agree, but it's okay to disagree. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I think we need to move on. And that's what I think it happens with more and more communication. There was one good picture. I was looking at the psychology perspective, that there were two men. There was one man yelling at the other one. And it says, I think recently somebody shared on WhatsApp that the more you know, the brain of the other person, he was very calm. Like his brain was enlarged, and it shows that he has a lot of wisdom. The other person has a shrinked one, which means the more you know, the more calm you are. The less you know, the more aggressive and violent you are. I think that's where the key is. But I think, again, you need to have awareness and communication. These are the two keys. Do you agree on that as well?
Yeah, definitely having that communication, right? That's so important, and creating that space, right? So I love when parents come in with their kids, because it's different generations, and for the parents to explain like that, hey, this is how we got married, right? And this is how it was back in the day where we came from, and then the kids like, oh, okay, well, this is how we do it here, right? This is how I want to get married. This is how I don't want my wedding to have 500 people. I just want to get married on a beach, you know. So having that conversation with your sons and daughters is so important.
I think that's no, whether it's couples, it's children, no matter who you're dealing with. I think that there are a couple of things. One is communication, and the other thing is, like you were saying, that I word, and Kalpana was also, you were also talking about where you are saying, and this is something that I'm learning at this stage of my life, that, you know what, I have to express what I am feeling. I'm not going to hold it inside anymore. I need to talk about it. I need to communicate. Yeah, it just has to be done. You just can't keep holding it inside anymore, and you have to come to, you know, you have to come to some agreement, even with your children. I mean, it is their life.
Yep, they're living it.
It has to be, right? We've all come into this world to live our own lives, to live our best lives, to live our own lives, and that's what they are. I mean, you have to let them go, but um, uh, before you destroy their lives.
Mhm. We won't always be there, right? So
And there's too much suffering going on. Kids are having such a hard time. I mean, I see kids, right? They will do whatever their parents want. As soon as they leave the house, they go to a friend's house, they will go change, wear clothes that
yeah,
they want to wear. They will do whatever, they want to do. Alcohol, this, that, whatever it is, right? They're going
easy
to do it
easy
all.
access to everything. Yeah,
Yeah, because, so it's much better, I feel, that they stay safe,
yeah,
and you talk to them and you make them understand your perspective, but you have to understand and realize that they will go through their own journey, make their own mistakes, and you know make their own choices and learn from their choices, and that's okay. I mean, I think we need to stop seeking perfection.
right.
I think once we just don't stop worrying about what others are going to say, then
Yeah,
even if our kids make a mistake, even if it's a disastrous mistake, I think then we wouldn't be so much judgmental about them. I feel that because, but again, unfortunately, we do fall into the kind of cocoon that what people are going to say. And to be honest, I think it took me a while to just okay, I don't care what people think. It doesn't matter. I don't care about them, but I don't, it doesn't bother me. I would say that it doesn't bother me if they say anything about whatever happening in our life. It's okay. Everybody goes through these phases, highs and low. But tell me about yourself, Nazia. I know that you listen to a lot of stories, but how do you manage when you have you ever faced any highs and lows in your life? And if so, I mean, not that you have to share the story, but how do you manage to bring yourself up and then calm yourself down if that happens in your own life?
yeah. So I personally, I'm proud to see a therapist myself, right? So I have my own therapist, and then I have a licensed supervisor that I talk to about all my cases, in confidentiality. I also have a great support group of other therapists, and so we share our stories, because I don't have all the answers, right? And I'm not doing the work. My clients do the work. I just join them on their journey, right? I provide resources. I provide that space. And sometimes it gets really hard. Like I had a Desi girl the other day, and I was seeing her for anxiety, and her mom, I didn't understand that her mom and her nanny also take like Xanax for anxiety. So I get a call that she's at the hospital because she took 29 pills, and like things like that like hurt me. And then you remember the snowstorm happened? I was also seeing a couple at that time, and they're both from the army, from the military. So I saw them one Monday, and this is the hardest couple I've seen. So I saw them one Monday, and she left my clinic, and she put my business card on her fridge with a big heart on it, and she said, "This is us going in the right direction," right? And so I saw her that Monday, 5 p.m. The next Monday was when that snowstorm happened. And like, we didn't have electricity, and my husband was in DC. And I was calling them to say that I can't see them the next Monday because of the snowstorm. And I call him, and he's like, "She's dead, Dr. Hussein." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "She's dead." And I'm like, "What are you talking?" He's like, "I went into the room and she killed herself. She's hanging." And that, like, I just lost it. And we had no electricity. Like, my brain wasn't working like that. Our house was 40 degrees that night. And I'm with 3 kids. I couldn't even leave. I couldn't drive in the snow. My husband had to fly back in from DC when the airplanes were moving again. And I had to talk to my therapist. And I had to work it out. And till this day, I'm working with him still. And he's grown so much, you know. But the fact that, you know, she's no longer with us, like, that always, like, when I look at the chair, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, she used to sit there, right? So things like that are hard, but then I think of more success stories, and it keeps me going.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? It
Yeah.
is hope that keeps us going. So, Nazia, time flies, and we're reaching the end of the show. And what I would like to do is give you the platform to share where people can reach you, and just what advice would you like to give for couples, to parents for their children? Whatever words of wisdom you would like to share, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to be on the platform tonight. I had so much fun. Time goes by, right? But yeah, you could reach me at noscounseling.com. I'm located here in Plano. I enjoy working with multi-generational families and couples. And my advice, I guess, is it's okay to seek help. It's okay to want to talk about it. We got to erase that stigma, right? Just because you're seeing a therapist doesn't mean there's an issue with you, right? If you're having like heart problems or like knee problems, you go to a doctor, right? So if you're having, not problems, but if you have stuff going on emotionally, it's okay to come to a therapist and talk about it, right? So I just request all viewers to find someone to talk to, and don't keep it bottled up because it's too much.
And you know, like you were saying earlier, it's with a counselor, it is someone who is not. It's someone detached.
Yes.
It's someone non-judgmental.
Exactly.
So it's okay to you know. I remember I had someone from Women of Noor who had messaged me, and she was like, you know, I'm just going through this. COVID is really impacting me, and you know, my kids are telling me that I should see a counselor, but I just, you know, don't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see a counselor every single week, just to kind of, you know, sit there.
Yeah. You don't have to lay down, but if you want to,
You know, if I can get you know, a virgin pina colada or something
Sure.
to drink, just sit there and just talk to you.
yeah,
Nadia takes you to the beach with me and just like
Venice.
Venice.
Well, glad
Yeah,
you do that, because just the way Alia Bhatt goes to Shah Rukh Khan and every time doing this,
Right.
we don't have that kind of relaxing restaurant to go there and enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to. I want to offer everyone like a free consultation. If you want someone to talk to, or if you want to reach out and just see what therapy's like, or even maybe I'm not the right fit for you. Maybe I can find someone who is the right fit for you, right? So I'm here to talk, and yeah,
Just to
there it is.
discuss it, especially for parents whose kids might be.
Yes.
Again, I would just emphasize the same thing over and over again, you know, to parents, to families, to seek, you know, counseling, to seek whatever help they need to seek, because it's just, you know.
And the kids are going through a hard time, like you're saying. And I feel like with me, I relate to the kids because they're like, wait a second, you were born here? Like, you know what we go through? And the parents, like, I'm a mom now, so I have 10, 8, and 3-year-old. So then I'm like, I understand what you're going through. Like, I have that mother view, and then I also have the growing up in America. So
Absolutely. So, we're going to end the show, ladies. I'm going
Thank
to
you
just,
so much, Nazia, for coming and
thank you
sharing
both.
your wonderful
Nazia,
words.
thank you. It was such a pleasure, and we've had always connected, but it was such a pleasure actually meeting you and having this conversation and getting to know you. It was a total delight. So, just going to end the show. So,
It was an honor. I'll keep following you on Facebook.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
awesome. So, just going to end the show, and thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to be here and to hear what was shared on today's podcast. If this inspires you to take the next step in your journey, then I would love for you to join my email list by emailing vip@saimadillon.com. And if you are a woman of NOOR and have a story you would like to share, message us to be a guest on the show. And of course, if you know this podcast episode can help someone else, then help us touch lives. Take 30 seconds to simply share the link to the podcast in a text or post it on social media. And I will be so grateful. And until next time.